Okay, so welcome back to Cobra Kai Companion. You guys joining me, they really need no introduction if you guys been following what I do in the Cobra Kai community. We all know who they are, but John, Josh, and Hayden, also creators of Obliterated. How you guys doing?
We're doing
Good,
great.
good.
So actually, since I brought that up, is there anything you can kind of reveal about Obliterated, like when we might be able to hear about a release date, anything like that?
We're still waiting on a release date ourselves for Obliterated. All we can say is that it's come out amazingly well. We're really thrilled about it. If you're a Cobra Kai fan, it may or may not be the show for you. It really depends on things. First of all, it's a very R-rated show. So for the young viewers, it may not be something that they're ready to watch. Maybe when they turn 17 is the perfect time for them to watch.
Or 12, depending on how advanced they are.
But it's a TVMA show, and it's more of a throwback to the kinds of work that we did before Cobra Kai. We did pretty much exclusively R-rated comedy before that, and the show's awesome. If you love big action, if you love R-rated comedy, it's going to deliver for you. The cast is incredible. It's just a big spectacle and lots of fun. And we don't have a release date yet. I think part of it is because of the strike actually right now. Netflix is figuring out sort of their slate given the adjustments adjustments going on as a result of not having all the content that they expected and hoped to have for the rest of the year.
So when you mean like R-rated comedy, I'm assuming language, violence, and with your guys' background with like Reunion and Harold and Kumar, there's probably nudity and drug use.
There's every possible thing that could lead to an R rating is in this show, and I won't say anything else.
and some new things.
Yeah.
I think, it's definitely like sex and drugs are the thing that make you not like hesitant to talk about kids, like watching your show, even though like when we were kids and, you end up watching things a few years earlier. Certainly like we fell in love with R-rated comedies, like watching them on HBO when our parents weren't watching. But, ultimately like if you look at some of our earlier stuff, it has, a little bit of that edgy R-rated quality to it. But I'd say like the similarity between Cobra Kai is we really love the characters, and like on Cobra Kai where we obsess over every character, no matter where they are, whether it's the, number one lead star or down to the somebody who has one line. There's a lot of attention paid to all of that, and, fun cliffhangers. And so there's like a lot of what makes Cobra Kai work, I think, is in Obliterated, but
no doubt,
it's like instead of there's no like Karate Kid feels. There's no like moral story in every episode. In fact, it revels in its amorality and immorality at times. Although like it's got a heart, but less like mentor student stuff. And, so I see the similarities, but, and I think a lot of Cobra Kai fans will love it.
No doubt.
It's like a totally different type of cuisine, like, from Cobra Kai.
Sounds like a lot of debauchery, especially taking place in Vegas. So, yeah, looking forward to that. So, John, you kind of mentioned a little bit about the strike. For those that didn't see your guys' time with Ken, who got to see you guys on picket lines and whatnot. Can you just kind of briefly talk about the strike and how it's kind of affecting Cobra Kai?
We were. Oh, you go.
Go ahead,
Josh. Sorry.
No, Cobra Kai is on hold right now until the strike is resolved, until the studios and the Writers Guild get back together and negotiate a fair deal. Cobra Kai was ready to go when the strike began, and it was just poor timing that we suspected was coming. And as soon as the strike is over, we'll get back to work. Cobra Kai will get back in production, and we will proceed. But until then, it's really like literally hitting the pause button.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And now with you guys being back at home, have you guys been kind of taking advantage of time to write watch parties? Language it was on spec. Have you guys been able to write anything on spec during the writer's strike?
Well, that's the main thing that we're allowed to do right now. So, our writer brains want to continue writing, and we when it comes to like the actual content that we can generate, it can't be something that's already for a studio. So, we have a lot of ideas and spec ideas that we've talked about over the years. So yeah, we use this time to kind of flesh out some of those things. Inadvertently, we're always going to be thinking about Cobra Kai, no matter what, like whether there's a strike or not. We're not able to write and submit drafts and stuff like that. But during this break, believe it or not, we're there's still kind of development going on in our brains.
I kind of get it. I was just mentioning to some of you off mic here that over the weekend I was at a gathering with coworkers, some of which I put on the Cobra Kai, but I've met some spouses who I got to kind of tell them my journey. And they were really into it and really happy for me. And basically I said, I kind of eat, breathe, and shit Cobra Kai. And they were all really happy for me, just so I get it. Cobra Kai always on the mind. And I had to show them the bracelet to just kind of prove it. So it's always.
Nice. Now we always have Cobra Kai on our minds, and it's challenging. We knew that the strike was probably coming, but that doesn't stop you from getting excited for production. Like we went down there to Atlanta. We were there. I remember the night before having dinner being like, okay, hopefully at the last minute, they're going to come to some agreement. And tomorrow morning we're on set for the final season of the show. And it was the most bummer of a feeling, sort of being, just sitting in your hotel room as the show went on. So it was not the most fun time, but it's just a little blip in the story. Cobra Kai has had so many crazy twists and turns behind the scenes, as starting from our YouTube days to YouTube stopping making this kind of TV show to where are we going to be and all that stuff, and it's just another chapter of the story.
With you guys currently working on your final season, what kind of thoughts are kind of going through your head? Like this is the last hurrah. Like certain feelings, have they set in? Getting emotional when you're seeing some people who you kind of know this is going to be for a while until you see them again.
I don't know that that's fully sunk in yet. I mean, I think we appreciate that from a storytelling standpoint in the writer's room, because we're certainly knowing that this is our last chance to tell certain stories that we've been withholding, or to wrap up a story that's in progress, or to, write a character that we've been considering. So those moments definitely feel momentous, and, that you're getting ever closer to the last story beat in, the mothership, with these characters in this moment. But because we, didn't get into production, we really haven't had those looking around set and feeling, oh my gosh, this is, like it's fleeting, because there's still so much in front of us to produce. So I'm sure we'll get there. I remember very much in the first season feeling those feels, a lot more viscerally, than we did in subsequent seasons. And I'm sure those feelings will come rushing back toward the end.
I like the language you use so much. In the previous seasons, you guys have always said that you guys have a narrative and, for the beginning to the end kind of thing. And in previous seasons, we've had 10 episodes, roughly 30, 40 minutes each. With season 6, we haven't heard anything official. Watch Party made a video recently. You guys may know about it. But do you feel with season 6, you guys will have enough time to continue, or at least conclude your narrative and tie up all the loose ends by the finale?
I feel we feel very confident about it, and won't make any statements about anything other than to say, if you look at each season, they have kind of gotten bigger in terms of whether it's general runtime or like that last episode is sort of keeps getting longer. So as the bonsai tree has grown, so our seasons grow a little bit, and we definitely. Going into the season, which we were ready to shoot, felt like we had a really good kind of story and a path for everyone to kind of have, a moment or fun story, before the finale.
Yeah, we're going big. I mean, we've never shied away from going as big as we can, given our budget. We've fought every single season for a little bit more and a little bit more to be able to, to tell the big story we have. I mean, if you look at the end of season 5, it's this momentous cinematic feast of, everyone you love from, the first 3 Karate Kids, all engaged in battle. To wrap up this story, we need a lot of days, we need a lot of time. And we have that. We're hoping it continues to still be there when the strike is over, and we'll go back and do it. But there's going to be some big things happening this season.
On the topic of the end of season 5, it wrapped up really nicely, and a lot of people. I feel like a lot of us knew that wasn't the end, but some were like, I would be okay if that was, because of the way it ended. Was that a way to kind of start off season 6 with like a clean slate, introduce new obstacles and hurdles? Like, can you guys talk about like why you guys decided to end season 5 that way?
We loved the idea of peacetime in the valley in the wake of things. Things have gotten so big and crazy on the show that we love the idea of sort of, having a season that ended in a different kind of feel than you've seen at the end of 1, 2, 3, or 4. And to be able to start this next season, the Saikai Taikai is something that we've been talking about. We talk about towards the end of season 5. So there are things to look ahead to. But you don't, we love the idea of the audience not really knowing what's coming. And what I can say is we always knew that we were going to be moving on to a season 6. It wasn't like we ended a season 5 and thought, okay, well, this may be it. It was all very intentional where we are. And I think people who thought they were going to be satisfied with how season 5 ended and that was fine for them are going to realize after they see the end of season 6 that it's probably a good thing that we had a season 6, because this ending is going to be even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that there was like talk about like, do we want to add this cliffhanger or something at the end of 5 at some stage? And it almost felt like after everything that they had been through and that kind of epic battle, that's for it to feel like, oh, wait, there's more, or it's not resolved, or that meant nothing, would be like, are you fucking kidding me? So we just felt like we had earned this, like at least a moment of exhale. And we just love like the end of 5. We always talk about it. It's kind of like the end of a Spielberg movie. Like at the end of Poltergeist, it feels like we did it. And, we obviously have a little bit of a loose end there with Kreese, but it was just a different type of ending too. It just felt like the natural end of that season was like, we did it. Everyone's together, and like, let's live in that and have a different ending, and nobody will see that coming. And we know where we're going next anyway. So
this is a paraphrasing of a question from Watch Party, but with season 5 and with your guys' narrative, did you guys find any challenges or maybe some surprises in telling that narrative and having to like deviate or make any kind of changes, whether minor or major?
Well, I'll just say, it's funny because, I listen to your podcast a decent amount, not as much as I used to. I wish I could listen to it more. I'm just too busy. It sucks. But I will say that, while we've had, the show planned from beginning to end in some broad ways, we didn't plan like, okay, we knew what season 1 was, but we didn't know like, okay, season 2 was going to end how it did when we first started writing the show. And we didn't know that season 3 was going to end exactly. We didn't know all those exact points were going to be at those exact moments. And a lot of new ideas came up throughout. And I think in season 5 was our most chaotic and wild season of making the show, because we had just finished making season 4. We finished filming season 4. We came home, we're in post-production and we're working on that. And Netflix like needed a big show to put in a slot. And they were like, these guys, they deliver, they make their shows, they move quickly and all that stuff. So they came to us and they said, hey, can you make season 5 right away? So it was one of those things that we were originally going to be doing Obliterated first. So we thought we were going to get into Obliterated. Instead, we shifted gears immediately to Cobra Kai season 5. We had a short time in the writer's room in LA, and then we brought the entire writer's room to Atlanta because we were just running and gun and trying to make it all happen. So season 5, we knew the big tentpole things that we were going to do throughout the season, but there was a lot of figuring stuff out as we were going and just aggressively writing while in Atlanta and being just a couple episodes ahead on certain things. And when I look at the story, the overarching story that we told is the story that we set out to tell at the beginning of the season. And then there were some variable things that, we came up with either along the way or that we had in our minds that, you're heading down a path and you're like, should this be in season 5? Should this be somewhere else? Do we want to make this choice? Do we want to do this? And then when you're looking at when you're editing the stuff at the end, and see the finale was such a grand finale, you make some decisions, you make some choices, and you say, what's the best story that we could tell in this season, in this episode, and we felt really good about where we landed.
And so, like with the post-production of Obliterated and Netflix asking for the season 5, was that also like kind of attributed to why you guys didn't write any of the episodes or direct?
Yeah. Oh, Josh, you go. Sorry.
No, I mean, we were just, jamming. It was overwhelming to go right into production of season 5, somewhat unexpectedly, without that time to really, take a moment and feel like you have a safety net for all the decisions you're going to make. And it became immediately obvious that our time on set wasn't best spent, making every single micro decision of, blocking and, and direction. It was much better spent at the script level, being in the writer's room, pretty much, most of the way through production, and polishing, rewriting, having, one of us, and multiple of our producers on set with a trusted director, while we could really be making sure that the scripts that were coming in that didn't have the same kind of lead time for us to, sleep on to the same degree that we had in the past, really making sure what we were committing to was what we wanted to express and was the best for the macro story of where it was going in a subsequent season, because it really felt like you were at times running down a runway that was being laned right in front of you as you're running. You're taking a step into the unknown, and thankfully there's some pavement to put your foot on. So it was really gratifying to come out of that production and be in post on season 5 and realize we didn't drop anything. The net caught anybody who fell off.
And the one thing I would say, from a writing standpoint, it's tough because when you're the official writer of an episode, you're starting with the blank page, and there's a certain challenge with that whole element of it. And we're also, the three of us, running the writer's room, which are running those discussions and all that kind of stuff. And we didn't have the time to be there with the blank page. So it made sense for us to have writers do drafts of the script, and then we would get drafts of the script. And sometimes the writer, you're just giving them notes, and other times we're taking it over and we're making changes. So, our fingerprints are all over the season. We, planned the whole story, and we certainly did a ton of writing. We just don't have any writing credit in the season. So it's a different kind of season for the show, but it was really, while it was more stressful than other seasons in the sense of, like Josh was saying, you're just trying to keep up on that road. It was really it was really fun and challenging in a different kind of way. And we loved the results. It was one of those things though, that when we finished the season, we're like, I hope that all those quick decisions that we made are paying off, because we made a bunch of decisions and we took some big swings. And at the end, we were very excited that we're like, when we were able to like take a step back from it and like watch it beginning to end, we're like, this worked out well. We're pretty happy with this.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of nice to like also like before it actually premieres, if you know anybody that gets screeners, it's always nice to kind of get some preliminary, insight. Kind of like, well, we value this person's opinion, and if this person is enjoying it, hey, less to worry about, I guess, when it actually drops, and then start hearing it from the fans then. This is kind of a two-part question, and inspired by a tweet I saw from Amy recently, because I feel like I haven't had my pulse in the fandom in some time. But will you guys be making a return to writing well, you already kind of mentioned it, but not in the credits, but return to writing and directing in season 6, but also the cast and crew, also very talented, wear multiple hats, writers, authors, Academy Award nominee, directors, and whatnot. Could we see some of the cast possibly directing episodes in season 6?
I think all of that's very possible and subject to change, is how I would answer it. Those are all things that we've talked about. It's the last season. So, we'd love to, write an episode, direct, and do all that stuff. And that's part of the thing with the timing that you have and all of that. And that's the hope there. And the same thing with, the actors getting a chance, some actors getting a chance to direct. That's something that we've talked about. And, it's just a question of, let's see after the strike how everything shapes up, because, things can be up in the air, but there have been discussions about that stuff.
Oh, okay. When I saw the tweet, that had never occurred to me, but yeah, season 6, I don't see why not if everything kind of works out. I'll be kind of jumping around, with, kind of teases about season 6, but, season 5. In season 5, I'd like to talk a little bit more about, return of some legacy characters. I brought this up to Michael Jonathan Smith as well, but with the character of Chozen, I was really surprised how much we got of him in season 5, because I just thought, with Yuji having the restaurants, I was like, oh, he'll probably show up in a few episodes and whatnot. But what kind of discussions, like rules, did you guys come up with rules for the character of Chozen? Because it took me, I feel like the second half of the season to go, you know what, he's filling in like that Miyagi void, and I see glimpses of Sato and Karate Kid 2 Chozen and all of that all in one. Is that a decision on Yuji's part, and just kind of discussions amongst everybody else on how to play it?
I mean, I would say that it started with how it was established in season 3. And I've said this before, that we just loved working with him in season 3. We were so impressed with working with him on set, behind the scenes, his acting, his martial arts, his approach, how much he cared, his humor. All those elements were things that we really responded to. So we knew when we were doing season 5 that we wanted him to have a huge role, and that he was going to basically be in as many episodes as we could have him in. In terms of sort of like feeling like Miyagi-ish and that kind of thing, that was sort of just, it unfolded naturally. There was never us in the room. I don't remember ever in the room being like, okay, he's going to be our Miyagi surrogate or anything like that. There was never a discussion about him as a new Mr. Miyagi kind of character. It was really just putting him in this new version of Chozen that we had established in season 3. It was a collaboration between the 3 of us, our writers, and Yuji, and just telling of that season, just putting him in the situations, that was just the result of where the story took us and the voice that felt natural in all those times. And it was more a sense of looking back while watching it, and every episode coming out of it being like, he's one of my favorite performers in that episode. He's so great in there. And then leaving the season, and he's one of the top MVPs of the season. And feeling like, yeah, he did give this, pathos and elevated things in certain ways that Pat did in the past as Miyagi. that felt really special and brought some vibes. And it was probably a subconscious thing because he in season 3 was giving us vibes that we were really responding to, as after he revealed himself to kind of how he had progressed in life. But seeing him in the Valley, it was a pleasure, and we, maybe we'll see some more of him.
Also, Hayden, I feel like you wanted to say something when I was kind of teeing you guys up with that question.
No, just love Chozen.
Okay. Can you talk about the episode 2 of Mole, and just the discussion about having Chozen and Terry Silver meet so early on? I was very surprised, and we get the tease at the end of the first episode that he's already infiltrated as one of the potential hires.
I mean, that's kind of what we try to do is get to the meat and potatoes during the bread course. We like to hopefully, get to where the audience suspects we might be going faster than expected, and go to some unexpected places when you least expect them. One of the things we really enjoyed about that storyline was presenting the possibility, over that dinner that Silver has, and over their drinks, that maybe Chozen is able to be seduced by Silver. And there's a lot of what Silver's saying that might be relevant to Chozen in terms of his emotions about Daniel, if he really looks at the totality of his life. And and we really wanted to play with that tension, and also put these two titans of Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai in the same space and make it very uncomfortable. And we also knew where we were going by the end of the season, to get to that place where you're so incredibly invested, hopefully, in their battle to the death, it seemed. You want to really establish both of these, figures as strong and immovable and sharp and intuitive and dangerous. And we were kind of, presenting things like the sword, and, letting Chozen have a misstep that he wouldn't make twice. And it was so much fun to kind of feel like you're playing with the chessboard. You're presenting the earliest stages of a battle without a punch or kick ever being thrown. And then, of course, at the end of the episode, throwing a whole bunch of punches and kicks as a prelude of what's to come.
Yeah, I was just gonna say my biggest frustration with the show, it's mostly from our standpoint, is just there's so much that you want to do, and you have a certain number of episodes, and like that's the type of thing that could be its own movie. Like you could have a whole second act in a movie that's him as a mole, and you could really draw that stuff out. I couldn't get enough of Chozen being like on Team Cobra for a brief period of time. And it was just like, there's so much potential there, because like they have so much in common. And those are the best moments where you like show these two characters that, and not to mention the fact they're both Karate Kid antagonists. I know that at the end of the season we get them all together, but it's just fun to have two Karate Kid antagonists, because at that point Johnny and Chozen hadn't really been together. So it was just like these two guys that, like, if you're a Karate Kid fan, have a lot in common, that were in totally different movies but are together. And it's just so, and as soon as like there's swords that are being brought out, that it's teeing up for something crazy. And also I remember the snake carafe thing that he pours the whiskey into. Like, it got to that place. The best thing about season 5 was we had earned the Terry Silver in charge story. And so it's now he's going full force, and you're coming over to his place. Here, let me open the snake and pour you the fancy, whiskey. So you get to play with all that stuff.
Hayden, was that what you kind of teased back at PeleFest when you mentioned, when I asked you guys about merch from season 5? Was that what you're talking about? Like maybe a Cobra?
No, I was talking about and snake bites. I was talking about snake bites. We were like, I remember thinking like this should be merch. Like we should just sell like these little protein things, these Cobra Kai protein things. Cause like I see so many protein products out there right now that it would make sense. We just liked at Silver's Dojo. It was like the model for us was like an Equinox gym, and they usually are selling a bunch of products and stuff like in a little shopping center, or whatever. It's like you get your Cobra Kai t-shirt, or we have snake bites, the new protein thing. I think Mitch is caught eating some in episode 7 of season 5. So
I think if that became a reality, you guys should get Joe to do a commercial. He'd be like, it's like crap, just
Yeah. We love Joe so much.
Yeah. So I know you guys know often I like to bring up like, oh, who came up with this? And it's always a collaborative thing. I had a discussion with Yuji, not in an interview, and we kind of talked about a line that I feel you guys are responsible for the inflation of gas prices. So the summer of 2022, I am gasoline. Can you maybe give us some insight on the manifestation of this incredible line?
I'm trying to remember. I think the first.
Well, I don't know. I remember it was just something that we came up with.
We were fooling around. I think I don't even think it was like we were joking about an arch. We knew it, You're Playing with Fire, Danny Boy was going to be there, and I remember we were just joking around about in like a Bond movie how someone would respond, and the idea of Chozen saying that intensely and meaningfully, we just felt was immediate trailer fodder. And we talked about it, and we talked about it like it would be what it was. And then when it got put on a billboard, it was the culmination of that meta, writing moment for us.
The crazy thing for us, it was boom was always a big part of the thing too. It was like in our minds in the trailer, it was like, and I am the gasoline. And then he's like, boom. And you'd see like Burns's like building explode, or we needed an explosion. We don't have enough explosions. We have fires. But
we had the Vietnamese village explode. That was probably the biggest.
That's true. We did do that. But it was like, it felt like it should be like in the trailer, like there'd be some sort of explosion that happens. And we love it when when two characters have these like mortal, like Highlander climax-esque conversations in the valley. Like, in season 1 or 2, it's like, Johnny and Daniel like outside the mini mart, or Silver and Daniel in the mini mart. And here it's just like, it's Chozen and Silver and Daniel like at this country club. And it's just like, anyone there is ordering a drink or something like that. Meanwhile, these two are like ready to, kill each other's children, basically. So.
I think, I don't know if Yuji remembered who it was, but he said that he thought it was a little, I might be misremembering the words he used, but he was like, oh, it felt a little cheesy, and whoever was talking to him was like, trust me, like it'll work, and so that's kind of what I remember him sharing. So I was always curious. So as of right now, at the time of this recording, do you guys already have a joint name for the new dojo?
Well,
let's just say that that storyline gets resolved, and it's that we don't just like leave that in the air. It's not like there's not going to be a Saikai Taikai, or all that. The stuff that was in 5 will pay off in 6.
John, did you have anything else to add to that, or?
No, I'm here on martini duty right now.
Oh, okay. So, there it is, martini baguette. There you go. There she is. Yeah. Okay, I want to make sure that I got everything here. Okay, so we're still good on time here. Let's see. The Mike Barnes. Any kind of discussions that we don't know about bringing him back, and then we don't see him until the finale after episode 3.
Well, any discussions to bring him back in terms of season 5, like how?
Yes,
yeah. I mean, we knew there was real juice there once we were breaking, that first episode he was in, and obviously to leave him in a position that he was left in as he pulls up to his, place of work that means so much to him, as we saw him rub his, finger along the piece of, oak or cedar or whatever the heck, and it's all up in flames. It would have felt inauthentic and kind of unfair just to leave him as a damaged remnant, in the background somewhere that's dealing with the collateral damage of Silver in the valley. So in our back pocket, he was always coming back. We were looking for what that moment of reintroduction was. And, the writer's room, once that was finally broken out in the way it is, it just made us all smile and celebrate and be excited, and really feel like it was worthy of that finale.
But that's an example, I'll just say, of we wrote him into episode 3. We knew what we were doing in episode 3. We knew that we'd bring him back later, but we didn't know how we were going to bring him back later. And we were already filming. So we were filming the 3rd episode. By the time we're, filming the 3rd episode, we didn't know how he'd return at that point. We knew that he'd come back, but it's a function of being in that season 5 where we were just kind of running and gunning. And once we came up with sort of his reintroduction, we were all thrilled. It was a celebration, but it's awesome. It was great to work with him. I'll just say, all of we've said it with every single kind of returning cast member, but he's a guy who has been eager to be back on the show from the beginning. He's somebody who we were hearing from early on, and we were honest when we were saying, we intend to bring you back. We know we want to bring you back, but we want to bring you back at the right time, when it's meaningful, when there's a real story purpose of it, given sort of, where we knew we were going with some of the other characters. So it was very fulfilling for all of us. And, when you work on soap operas like he does, you're on it. Those actors have to do 20 pages a day, 25 pages a day. It's insane the amount of work that they do. So he knows his lines. He has everything planned really well. And it was fun to see him mixing it up with the different characters in the series.
Absolutely. So you guys said you were already filming season 3 and still kind of figuring out on how he returns.
No, we're shooting episode 3. Episode 3. So we're shooting season 5.
I'm in episode 3. If I said season 3,
yeah.
So I'm kind of assuming that. So did you guys already kind of have the idea of our mains, let's call them, going out clubbing and getting kidnapped? Was Barnes always?
I don't think so at all. I think, and again, this was a season that was a little bit more on the fly, but we knew where we wanted to end in certain ways. For example, we knew it was Chozen Silver, so we knew that was going to happen. So, cause we had already shot 2, we had already established the swords. We knew there was going to be the sword fight. We knew where we wanted to go with Johnny and the baby. We knew where, there were some big key things that we knew where we always know where we're going, but we don't know all the details of that. And, for us, we knew that there were different ways of getting Barnes back. I remember talking to Mike on the set while he was shooting episode 3 and saying, we have this idea, for how to bring you back. And so at that point we had talked about, him kidnapping them and all of that, but it was enough not set in stone that I didn't want to even talk to him about it, because things change. We could find out now you can't afford a stretch limousine, the weird things like that happen on Cobra Kai. You're wait, what are you talking about? I see. Okay. Anyway, but that's an example of what Jon was saying before, of something that, we're you didn't need him necessarily to do some of the big payoffs of our other characters, but we knew that we wanted him back. We knew there were different ways of having him back, and we chose something that had him play a major role in setting up all these different things. And And for us, that was, those are always the best kind of story discoveries.
I feel the way season 5 kind of wrapped up, like I guess beefs, if you want to call them that, are kind of over. Are you able to kind of tease like if some of those are still lingering in season 6 amongst some of our main characters, like any kind of those rivalries, like for example, I guess with like Tori and Sam, or even like with Kenny, like where's Kenny now with Robbie, and we're thinking maybe Sean's going to release soon.
It's really just look. I think what you see is what you get in terms of the end of season 5. Like think about what you saw between Sam and Tori, and that's kind of the headspace that when we entered the writers' room, are thinking about. At the end of the season, they weren't best friends, but they were on the same side of this little mini mission that they each had. So, going into the next season, when we're sitting in the writers' room, we're talking about, okay, well, where are their heads at? Are there things that, there's the starting point of where they are, and we need everything to make sense when you're watching it. So I'm not going to get into specifics of what stories we're covering, what storylines we're covering. But Sam and Tori have been a duo that you followed for many seasons already. So they'll continue to be people that you're following, and we'll see how they progress this year. But, I wouldn't say that like we ended season 5 where everyone's hunky dory with everyone. Everyone has a perfect relationship, and it's just you move into the past, everything, that's all in the past, and now we're all together. There's still some complexity and specificity between the different relationships that there are, and those are things that we either choose to unpack or don't choose to unpack going forward.
And kind of referencing like you guys' previous formats with the seasons and 10 episodes, 30 minutes. I know leading up to season 5, people have asked me like, oh, how do you think Jessica Andrews will be introduced? And I was always kind of like, I don't see it happening. It just makes no sense from what we knew in the Karate Kid 3. So you guys reintroduced her in a great way. Can you talk about reintroducing Jessica Andrews?
We're always looking to find a different way and an honest way to reintroduce characters from the original franchise. Like with Barnes, it was an opportunity to present him like he's the big bad wolf, and then, pull the rug out from underneath that. And we realized that we're in Daniel's skewed and somewhat PTSD-addled point of view. With Jessica, everything was on the table in terms of when or if, we were going to bring that character back into the story. And I remember when it was pitched in the writer's room, it brought a smile to our face that, it answered a question, to a degree of one of the ways that, Daniel and Amanda met each other, and at the same time provided an extension of the Jessica story in terms of her being able to shed light on the Terry Silver situation, both back in the day and what it must be like for Daniel to relive that now. She's in a unique position of any character in the franchise, really, to be able to to relate to what Daniel's going through there, because she was abused as well by Barnes and by Silver's minions. So when we knew we were telling this kind of heavier story in the middle of the season about Daniel's pursuit of justice getting in the way of his marriage, and him being thrown into this spiral, it was a really fun way out of it, to put Amanda in a situation where she could be hearing these plot-laden story things that are necessary, but also provide a relationship that is believable and yet unexpected.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'll just say like that's another prime example of like you're in the writer's room, and when a solution comes that has like lots of different value to it beyond sort of the present day value, there's so much there. It's really exciting for us, because that was something that like, we always knew we wanted to bring Jessica back. We didn't know how we were going to bring her back. There was times I think she was pitched as like the sister, like Amanda's sister at times, and we were always just like, no, like that's impossible. Like if she would just be the sister, and then when it was like, let's make her the cousin, it was a little bit more believable that like there was something there. But like knowing we knew the path we were going down when it came to the Daniel and Terry Silver story, and that Amanda, what was going to happen with Daniel and Amanda there, and to have sort of this big, big piece to play with. Just you plug Jessica in there, and it solves so many different things at once. How we bring her back, it tells you about the history of them meeting each other. It tells you it gives that unique insight that Josh was talking about. It was one of those things that we were all excited. I think I'm going to give Joe Pierulli, I think, some credit on this one, because I think that he was the one who first suggested her as the cousin. He kept pitching, I think, the sister thing first, and then eventually the cousin thing shifted over, and we're like, all right, okay, we're on now. We got it.
It makes a ton of sense. I mean, I would have to do. I mean, this is on a list for a possible episode, like top 5. The reintroductions and how it kind of impacted the story. I think that might be my favorite, just how it's done. It's just like, oh wow, it just is brilliant. And you guys did a lot of this on the fly too. So kudos to the team. I know we're kind of running down on time. I'm going to try to pick like the ones that I really want to ask. Kreese and the Haydenanigans that led up to season 5 about like, potential characters dying and whatnot. Can you talk about the discussion of kind of setting up Kreese's prison escape?
Well, while we were making season 5, it just felt like everything was geared towards like this potential death of whether it was Silver or Chozen or Kreese or Johnny or Daniel. Like there was a lot of, it felt like suddenly we got to this place where life was at risk. So I like to fan that flame and get people excited about that, because, whether it happens or not, the fact is we've gotten to that point where somebody can die, and I wanted to revel in that. And prepare the audience for it. Kreese is probably the toughest to kill of all the characters in the franchise. He seems to always get away. Actually, he never actually. He's whether he's in a death-defying situation or just it's complete bullshit. He comes back to life, and so it's fun that that's in a part of his character. So in playing that storyline at the end of 5, we knew that like, hey, well, that is a Kreese move, that all plays that trick.
I remember early on, Hayden was talking about having Kreese escape from jail, escape from prison. And at first we were just like, we didn't love the idea of it. Felt silly. And then when it was like, well, he fakes his own death to escape. Once we got to that, then we were all on board.
We were like, as long as you put that ridiculous thing on top of it, it starts to feel right.
Because we felt like it was consistent with Kreese's character to fake his own death. That's what he does. Like he does that
to pull that off, we had to do what we did, which was treat it completely honestly and have it come on the heels of a moment where his character feels like Kreese is finally arcing. He's finally realizing the error of his ways. He's finally willing to change and be vulnerable and let down his guard. And of course, that would be the moment that, in the Shakespearean way, that he would take a knife to the chest. And, we just shot that honestly. And then, through the magic of you didn't look over here, you see that it was all bullshit, and he was stealing her ID, and the Jello actually had a motivation, and everything else unraveled.
So I know we're kind of running low on time. I'm going to try to fit in at least a couple questions.
We could probably go an extra 10 minutes or so if you need to.
Okay. Great. Okay. So on the topic of kind of the end. I know a few people who were a little upset, the big Terry Silver fans, and you guys are as well. So this would be, I think, be some great insight. But some people were unhappy of how Silver was treated at the very end. The quick fight with Daniel and he loses, and just the way we see him cuffed and taken down to the police station, all of that. Can you guys talk about that and what you might be able to tell the big Silver fans and make them feel better about season 6?
I haven't heard that criticism. I didn't think it was a quick fight, and certainly, if you couple it with his other Daniel fight, it's not like, he went in and got his ass kicked. I mean, there was a part 1 to that fight earlier in the season, and he had just been through hell that night. I mean, he had a home invasion and had to take on people that were coming to beat the crap out of him, if not kill him.
He almost got killed. Yeah.
Yeah. And he almost got killed that night. He was a bloody mess and probably exhausted and was drinking that night. So, the guy deserves a handicap, I think, in that, if I'm going to, be his defense attorney for a moment. And I would also say that if you look at, if you look at just how that whole last episode went, he was, doing pretty well for most of it, considering he was the one that was kind of blindsided. So, he's obviously been arrested at the end of the season. We'll see whether or not his influence and money will, and connections and legal team will be able to get him off. But, I think
if he made any mistake, it was teaching Daniel the Quicksilver method. I mean, that was really, if you really think about it, I mean, his karate is what won out there for the most part, maybe with a little taste of Miyagi's as well.
Yeah, our thing with that fight, I remember, was just in our mind, the reason he lost was more on it's why Daniel won. It was just when Daniel fought him the first time, it was all negative energy, and he was playing Silver's game a little bit, and Silver's the better one at that game. He was the one who pushes him first. He was the one who did all that. Whereas in this last fight, he's using Silver's method, but he's doing it in a Miyagi way where he's kind of calm, at peace, and letting Silver come to him. And so he's kind of able to give him a taste of his own medicine through the kind of in a Miyagi style.
I think Peter's frozen.
Oh, am I frozen? Oh, can you guys hear me?
No, we hear you. That's good. I was worried that you weren't getting any of that, so that's great. We're not frozen. You appear to be. But we hear you.
Yeah, hopefully it resumes. But if I say frozen, not a big deal. I can always just put something else over it. So the silver bullet, I like that. Just you guys probably just wanted to introduce another new thing, silvers.
Yes,
secret moves are just a part of the franchise. From the moment Miyagi did the crane kick, there were secret moves, and we've kind of gone down that path from both the light side and the dark side for the entire season. So we wanted to introduce, what would Silver have as a secret move up his sleeve? It would be something that would probably be it'd have to be more dangerous and more life-threatening than Chozen's pressure point technique. So the idea of actually taking your breath away felt like something that could really creep up to that doorstep of a move that could kill somebody.
In the previous seasons, you guys used a lot of flashbacks to kind of fill in the gaps, whether it be exposition or whatnot. In season 6, have you guys discussed that and maybe how much more or less flashbacks we may get?
It's in our toolbox. I mean, that's all we can really say. I mean, it's something that we think about. I'd imagine that we'll have some of that in the season, but can't tell you anything more.
Yeah, we try to use flashbacks, where it's really emotionally, it's emotional storytelling. How do we, move forward in a way where by going backwards, you're getting some new perspective, some nostalgia, and something that really benefits the character whose flashback it is in a way that you couldn't tell that story without it. If you can tell the story without it, you probably don't need it.
A lot of times when people ask me my thoughts on upcoming seasons, and a lot of good questions are asked, I'm a lot of times I don't see things happening because I'm the whole 10 episode thing, I always feel like they have to kill their darlings, like some certain ideas they can't do. And I feel with like season 6, there's something that I'm still kind of waiting on. Like the last time we saw the flashback of young Kreese, I'm like, there's something missing here. Like, you know, between that Kreese and the Kreese we see in Karate Kid 1, I feel there's still some more. So that's kind of where my question is coming from. With season 6, with the idea of ending the series finally, how are you guys approaching like the like the finale, whether it's like the last couple episodes or the finale itself? Like, there's certain bullet points you guys kind of want to hit. Josh, you mentioned, I feel like it was with Ken, you mentioned something about like an original ending, and I'm not exactly sure what you meant by that. So I just, clearly you guys have your own ending in mind, but is this something like...
Yeah, well, the idea is, you know, when you look at the, you know, series finales, you know, especially, you know, in the last 20 years, when you're talking about premium cable, streaming, you know, and you're not just saying, you know, it's Cheers and you're, of course, going to be at the bar. You know, there are the Sopranos that cuts to black. There are 6 Feet Under that goes, you know, years and years into the future and shows you what, you know, becomes of everybody. I just spoiled 2 major shows for people if you haven't seen them. But, you know, for us, there are the devices of, you know, exactly what those final moments are. I mean, we just saw the series finale of Succession, which I won't spoil here. You know, and there are filmmaker choices and writing choices, and performance choices that go into those, you know, final few moments of a series. You know, if you're fortunate enough to get to a place where you're going out on your own terms, you know, for us, it's always going to be about what is the story we're telling and making sure that it continues to be rooted in that character journey, for the characters that we care about. And, you know, hopefully when you look at that journey and you see what we do, you know, from a filmmaking perspective, you know, those two things can coexist as they do with, you know, with shows that we feel good about.
And with my final question, we have heard rumblings before in articles about possible spin-offs and things like that. Could we see, like in season 6, some setup for something that could potentially come after Cobra Kai's end?
I feel like the whole show, you know, up until now and including season 6, has a lot of potential spinoffs, you know, within there. The show itself, in a way, is a spinoff of the Karate Kid, you know, just taking one character from that movie and, you know, using that as an entry point into a story. So I think that, you know, there's the potential to do that with any of the characters that we created. There's, you know, we obviously love backstory. So, you know, there's the notion of, you know, delving deep into backstory, going into the past, going into, you know, other OG Karate Kid characters that maybe we didn't get to have in Cobra Kai and explore them. You know, those are, you know, I would, you know, just speculate about all those possibilities because that's what we do. And it's not like, oh my God, season 6, you know, it's not going to set up for a direct like spinoff where it's like, okay, you know, Johnny and Daniel end up in a like running a bar in Vegas. And now it's going to be like, okay, it's set up for, we have already the bar in Vegas where they're going to be selling the booze, and that's going to be the show. You know, sometimes like, you know, shows do that type of thing. I think we're just focused on the end of our show right now, the end of Cobra Kai. And along the way, we always talk about what these characters are going to do after the events of, you know, our show end, or what were they doing in between these seasons that we didn't see. You know, those are things that we talk about, and all those possibilities are possible.
That was Hayden's long-winded way of setting up Young Dutch. So when Young Dutch gets announced, you heard it here first.
Hashtag Young Dutch.
I'll say it's going to be Dynatox. It's a show. It takes place in the 80s, and it's
don't spoil that. Hayden.
Okay, I'm not going to. I'm sorry. You know what? Edit that part out.
What are you doing?
So basically, we're not going to follow like Carmen and Johnny's baby in the sequel spinoff. Basically,
we can't say. I mean, it's possible that a future spinoff has characters that you see in the show and where they are, but it's not like I wouldn't expect it to be. You pick up the next day. And it's like, as Hayden was saying, Johnny and Daniel open a bar, and then the news show comes out, Johnny and Daniel's bar, and you see them at their bar. It'll be something.
I mean, there was something special about, re-entering this universe 33 years, at the time we went into production anyway, from the moment that The Karate Kid came out. Not to say, we're going to intentionally wait 33 years until coming into the story again, but they're, through time, and you can play with time, as you write. There are ways of extending a story, telling a different kind of story that feels, oh, this is unexpected, or oh wow, this is untapped. And like Jon said, it's not the very next day and fade back in.
There's also Justified is coming back. I heard, and there you have a show that didn't seem like it was gone that long and comes back. And so not that we have any plans for that, but we live in a world, Dexter is another example where you think that something's over and then it comes back. And, sometimes it's just you want your show to end, and then a few years go by and you're just like, you know what? I kind of like that, that Johnny voice or whatever the thing is. And you have the ability to do that. So I think, our goal is to end the show in a way that's just crowd pleasing, and that, hey, who knows what's going to happen, whether it's 33 years or, 3 years, these are characters in a world that you'd want to revisit again.
All right. And with that, one last one. Is Colonel Dugan Tori's dad?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, well, there it is. You guys heard it? All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
He's Dutch's uncle and Corey's.
Well, you did reveal at Paleyfest that it's Colonel Dutch Dugan, so I can see where he was named after his uncle, Dutch Dugan.
The big question is Dutch. Well, Dutch must be his last name because they put it on the tournament board, unless he was just a one name. They accepted his one name,
or he was Dutch.
Yeah, or he was Dutch.
There are characters like that. I'm trying to remember.
By the way, Double Dutch is
Dutch.
There you go. That's another spinoff.
That's the name of the spinoff show. It's a young Dutch spinoff. When you see how he got to jump around so so well, it's his Double Dutch days.
The tagline is come on, make a move. And
then we'll see also how he even starts the whole warm up, right? I think that's one of Josh's favorite things, little shake he does.
Well, he does two things. He does right before he fights Daniel, there's this thing, but he also, in the soccer game, when Daniel runs off kind of complaining, he kind of does it.
He kind of mocks him. He's like, he
has torso flexibility. He's the most snake-like of all the characters, and I always respected that aspect that he brought to the character. So
love it. Thank you guys so much for your time. Hopefully, a fair agreement comes soon, and you guys get back to doing what you guys love doing, and definitely can't wait to see season 6. Any last words as we end the episode or interview?
Just thank you for your continued championing of this universe. You were an early adopter of going online and talking about the show and kind of celebrating what it was flourishing into, and we are just so thankful to be able to tell this 6th and final season the way we want to tell it. And like you said, we can't wait to go back and actually finish writing it and produce it.
Well, thank you for letting me play in your sandbox.
I also just wanted to say that, we're in one of those weird times for a fan where you don't quite know what's going on with the strike. And like Jon said, we had that in the past. But it's going to be worth the wait. whatever it is, and nobody knew what the release date was anyway. So, our hope is just to get it out as soon as possible. But it's all in our brains and in a few scripts right now, and it's looking good, and we can't wait for people to see it.